Hey folks, this is Alex and welcome to my channel. Recently there was an article in the Wall Street Journal titled "Car Fee Battle Puts Consumers in Middle." Just middle, not the middle, but just middle. I guess that's Wall Street Journal real estate for you. Can't even put a "the" in the title. Credit cards are a huge topic in the YouTube personal finance space, and you have proponents like Dave Ramsey who despise credit cards, hates them with a passion. But then you have people like Graham Stephan who love credit cards and has lots of really good videos on how to maximize your rewards and points. And that's really what most personal finance YouTube videos about credit cards are even about. They're about maximizing your points, getting the best deals, trying to build your credit score up, things of that nature. However, in light of this Wall Street Journal article, I'm going to be talking about a bigger picture of credit cards, a discussion about all the major players involved, and some advice that not too many personal finance YouTubers will actually talk about with regard to credit cards. While most people would say that using a credit card to make purchases and paying it off in full is the best way to go, I'm actually going to point out some situations where I don't necessarily think that's appropriate, and it's not for the reason you might be thinking about. But if you're new to this channel, please like, comment, subscribe. It really helps me out. And without further ado, let's talk about credit cards. Now, I think most people who are watching this video know what a credit card is. And if you do, I have left a link in the description below that has a timestamp where you can skip my basic generic description of what a credit card is. But if you're new to what a credit card is, the next few minutes are going to be very enlightening. Credit is effectively a measure of trust. It's whether or not I can trust you with something. And in the case of credit cards, we're talking about money. So can I trust you with a large sum of money? Will I get my money back? Will you pay it off in full? Having good credit means that I can trust you with large sums of money, and the higher your credit or your credit score is, the more money I can trust you with, or even the longer I can go without having to receive payment. A credit card is basically a card that allows you to make purchases for everyday household items and services with the promise that you will pay it back to the credit card company. You're actually not using your money to make the purchase, you're using the credit card company's money with the agreement that within 30 days you will be paying them back. Now, if you don't pay them back, or if you don't pay them back in full, you will incur these fees. And credit cards will have these enormous fees, somewhere on the order of 35% of whatever the total cost of the thing you purchased was. Now, most companies will allow you to use a credit card to make a purchase. You can tell because it'll say Visa, American Express, MasterCard on the front door of whatever store that you're going to. That means that they accept that credit card as a form of payment. Today, credit cards are used by the vast majority of Americans. Well over 60% of all Americans use credit cards for everyday purchases. Now, the way I see it, credit cards serve three main purposes. One, and probably the most important, is that it can help you increase and build your credit. You can grow your credit score by using a credit card and paying the balance off in full. The second is that it's actually just convenient. Instead of carrying lots of cash with you, you can just carry a credit card with you and you can just buy things with it. It's also more secure that way. If you lose cash, there's no way of getting that cash back. If you use a credit card, on the other hand, you can actually refute any fraudulent charges that may have been made. And the last point, which is probably the one that most people like to learn about, which is that you can get rewards for using your credit card. Some credit cards issue you rewards, points, hotel points, travel points, cash back, a wide variety of different things. And you can use these points to buy things or go on vacations. There are some people who have entire vacations completely funded by credit card points. It's pretty wild. So that's the basics of how a credit card works. So there are three major players when it comes to making a credit card transaction. There's you, the consumer, and the person with the credit card in hand. There is the company who is selling you either the goods or the services. And then there is the credit card company, the company that issued you the credit card in the first place. Now, I mentioned that if you fail to make the full payment on your credit card balance, you're going to incur some large fee. And credit card companies make a lot of money with this fee, But that's not the primary way they make money nowadays. The vast majority of the money that a credit card company makes is based on transaction fees companies pay to the credit card company whenever you, the consumer, actually makes a purchase. Basically, a business will pay the credit card company for the privilege, so to say, to use that card. Every time you make a purchase, some tiny fraction of that cost actually goes to the credit card companies. You never see that cost because it's basically built in to the price of the item. The company has to pay the credit cards these transaction fees, and that's how they make most of their money. This can be somewhere between 2 and 3%, sometimes higher, depending on the kind of card and the rewards that that card can give the user, the consumer, you. And this is basically what the Wall Street Journal article was discussing. The fact that small businesses are paying enormous transaction fees. In the case of this Wall Street Journal article, a local coffee company called, wait for it, Bump and Grind, which is a fantastic name for a local coffee company, was actually paying extremely high transaction fees. To give you a sense, Bum and Grind is this local coffee company that roasts its own beans. So they actually spend around $12,000 a year just in green beans that they roast to make their coffee. But they spend upwards of $18,000 a year on credit card transaction fees. That's crazy! The raw material that you need to run your business is less expensive than the credit card transaction fees. And the thing is, these companies are building the price, that 2 to 3% transaction fee, into the cost of their goods and services. If you pay with cash versus with a credit card, you still pay the same amount no matter what. This has always been an incentive for people to actually buy things with a credit card because you're at least able to get rewards, build your credit score, and if there was ever a fraudulent charge where someone bought something at that store but it wasn't you, you could refute it. And actually, the fact that you can refute some of these fraudulent charges is one reason why credit cards even have these transaction fees in the first place. The credit card company has to make money just in general, but it also uses some of that money to offset some of the costs for these fraudulent charges. Now, all that being said, credit card companies ultimately hurt really small businesses more so than anything. And it's bad enough that COVID-19 has already wrecked small businesses, that this actually might make an argument for wanting to use cash or even maybe a debit card when you're making a purchase for a small business. This kind of goes against the grain of what most personal finance and investing YouTubers are saying. It's like you're paying more for the same thing. But I do believe that there's an ethical argument. There's an ethical reasoning like why you might want to support your local businesses. Now, there's one other player that I didn't mention in this whole equation. So I mentioned you, the consumer, the company that you're buying some good, some service from, as well as the credit card company. But the last player is the ever-present and always there, the government. And through something like sales tax, the government will actually get a little bit of money from that transaction. They say that there are two things in life that you can't avoid: death and taxes. So the government will actually impose some kind of tax. Usually it's a sales tax whenever you're making a purchase with a credit card. So if companies have to increase their prices because of credit card transaction fees and just covering costs, the government's also getting more sales tax money. So you have the credit card company and you have the government taking little bits from our small business owner. Now, when the small business owner has to increase prices because of credit card transaction fees, the government is also getting a bit of that as well. And on a personal level, I don't necessarily want to give the credit card company or the government extra money. I just want to give the extra money to the company because when I get a haircut, and I really need a haircut. Gah. I want to reward my barber for doing a good job. I want to give that person a good tip. They deserved it. The credit card company didn't deserve it, and the government certainly didn't deserve it. So in a previous video of mine, somebody made a really great comment where they cited a study where they actually looked at, as people got richer, they became more unethical. Now, is there a causal relationship? Maybe. Does becoming rich inherently make you unethical? I don't know. But I'd like to believe that that doesn't have to be the way. I think that we can make money, become wealthy, and also support our local communities. And that's actually why I bring up the point that maybe there are some cases where we should be using cash, really to support local businesses. And at the end of the day, I think it's better to help out your community. What good is having all this wealth and riches if the community that you live in just degrades and is decrepit? Maybe Gotham City would be much better if billionaire Bruce Wayne actually funded more things and paid in cash and helped out his community instead of buying all these fancy gadgets. That's right, I went there. Okay, so jokes and comics aside, because clearly I'm a comic book fan. Now you actually have a better idea about where your money is going whenever you make a credit card transaction. And so I want you to think about the idea of money as also a way of voting for things. When you use money to make a purchase, you're effectively voting and supporting that thing to be created. When you buy produce at a locally grown farm, you're supporting a local farmer. You're not supporting a factory farm. When you buy an item that was handcrafted, you're supporting the artist who handcrafted it. And when you use a credit card to make purchases, a little bit of that money is going to a credit card company as well as the government. It's not necessarily going all to the business that you might want to support. I think it's important that we think about money as the ability to vote for things. If we take that approach, we'll actually spend money in more meaningful ways. And I think we've already started doing it, especially in millennial generations. We're willing to actually pay a slightly higher premium on things if it supports a cause that we believe in. And I think at the end of the day, how you spend your money should also resonate with your ideas and your beliefs. Understanding money as the power to vote can be very powerful in the sense that the more money you have enables greater change to occur. You can donate your money to good causes, to communities, to charities. Now, I know that there was an article that said that richer people tend to be unethical, but I'd like to change that. I think that you can make money, you can save money, and still uphold a high ethical standard. You might not be perfect, but it's something that you can strive for. And at the end of the day, we can make both ourselves and our community richer. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you soon.